Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Ministry Shift. My name is Charlotte Gompertz, and I'm a vicar in deepest, darkest Shrewsbury, right at the end of the diocese. And this week, we're going to be thinking about how our Christian communities may be changing, perhaps as a result of the pandemic. I don't know about you, but I've been having lots more conversations about mission with folks from my church than I ever was before. And I've got three experts from the diocese who've come to share and chat with me this morning. They are Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim Trude. I'm the rector at St Matthew's Church in Walsall, a civic church, but also a parish church, and right on top of the hill in the middle of the town.
Gav.
Hello, I'm Gav Burnage. I'm the vicar of St Peter's Church in Walsall also. We planted into St Peter's Walsall 7 or 8 years ago. It's one of the most deprived parishes in the diocese and the country. And we've seen the church come alive again. It was slated for closure, but now it's doing okay.
And Malk.
Hey up, I'm Malk Mycock. I'm the vicar at St John's Church, Abbeyalton in Stoke-on-Trent.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining me today, fellas. It's good to see you. I am hearing a great hive of enthusiasm and expertise in mission and community and what things might look like outside our four walls. We've got to start thinking about this, haven't we? And I think for many of us, the pandemic is giving us opportunities that we never had before. And of course, the diocese is taking us through our Shaping for Mission initiative, which is giving us all the opportunity to really be creative about what our mission and our communities might look like in the coming months, but certainly the coming years. But we might need a bit of help, a bit of encouragement to think outside of the box. So I'm wondering and hoping that you can help us. Malcolm, if we can start with you. You're known as a parish evangelist, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful phrase, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit, first of all, what that might look like?
Well, I've been told that evangelism is what I do best, really. It's I'm a natural evangelist. I think that's a kind way of saying I've got a big mouth, basically. But I'm just really passionate about telling people about Jesus. And I just feel really strongly that the good news is still the good news. It always has been. So when the pandemic hit and we sort of went into the first lockdown, we just felt very strongly at St. John's that people were scared, and we needed to go out there and share good news with them, and just to reassure them, I think, as much as anything, that there's hope, and the gospel, of course, is a gospel of hope, isn't it? So, that's what we've been. So we've been doing numerous things. We started doing something called pop-up church. We actually took church out onto the streets, just very safely. Did a very short service. We prayed, reassured people that things were okay, and also let people know that we were there for them, really, as a local church. We felt that was important, to not to recede as church, but to shine even brighter in those really dark times. So we went out and we shared good news in a very simple way with people, and it was amazing, really, and what we've seen come from that.
And we can all do that, can't we? We can all encourage our communities to be less afraid of being evangelists.
Yeah, do you know? I think that's something I'm really passionate about, because I think people think that you've got to be a certain kind of person, like a loudmouth bloke from Leek in Stoke-on-Trent, but that's not true. We've got people of all different backgrounds and sort of giftings, if you like, at St. John's. Some are very quiet, some are a bit gobby, like me. But I always make the point that evangelism it can be as simple as talking to your family about your faith. And actually, it's not about telling people something. It's about sharing and inviting people actually into this wonderful journey of faith and what that. And also, I think sharing about sort of the effect it's had on you and how your life's been transformed. And certainly here, a bit like Gav, we're in a very deprived area. It's a tough area. People need the good news, but I tell you something, people are open to it. That's what's been, and it's been so good, actually. It's been great to get out and help people on the estate, but also it's really helped church. the church family. It's energized them and sort of, really sort of got us to pull together through this difficult time. So it's been great on so many different levels, to be honest.
That's fantastic, and I can tell straight away that you're modelling that from the front, as it were. You're, as the church leader, you're modelling that and encouraging your congregation to do likewise. I'm going to go to Jim now, because Jim's got some specific ways in which he is helping the leadership of his church look a bit deeper and a bit wider in terms of vision and community and mission. So, Jim, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, certainly. This, I guess, started when I first arrived here about 6 years ago, and the realization that we needed to have a shared vision. It couldn't just be the vision of one person in the church. And we realized that the PCC, although a lovely body of people, were not necessarily the most visionary people. They were better with the nuts and bolts aspects of church life. So we formed a leadership team who developed a church vision and hold the church, if you like, accountable to the church vision. The PCC then enable the church vision to actually happen. And summarising our church vision, it's worshipping God, equipping his people, growing his kingdom, and serving Walsall. Now, in order to do that, we needed to have people who actually were going to do the serving and the equipping and all that side of things. Sometimes when you're identifying people, it's about identifying someone to do a task. Sometimes it's about identifying a task for someone to do, I guess, when you're looking to develop new leaders. But the key thing is giving people opportunities with support to actually do new skills, to learn how to do things. Some people have got skills in particular areas. Some people have got gifts and passions. And in some respects, it's about tapping into what is their God-givenness. They're not necessarily mature Christians, perhaps, in other areas as well. We might give people opportunities to grow through doing things. And one of the things I think we've seen particular fruit in is our work with older people. This has kind of partly come about through our work to do with funerals. And we started following up on funerals in a particular way. And the person who did that then started a group which we called Owls, Older and Wiser. And they now have grown quite dramatically. And one of the really great things is during the pandemic, they've actually been supporting each other. Many of them have been locked down and not going out, but they've still kept a sense of community by phoning each other and things like that. And they can't wait to get back and have their social times together again.
And Jim, how's this kind of model of leadership helping your congregation to think, broader and wider, and as the wider church is calling, a more mixed ecology of church, so less about just our Sunday mornings, but much wider in our mission? How's it helping your church think a bit more about that?
Well, I think one aspect of our vision of serving Walsall and equipping his people is we're not looking to equip his people to actually just be based in the church. It's actually to be based out in the community, to go, and not just to Walsall, to the wider world as well. We consider ourselves a sending church, and so it's about developing skills, sometimes soft skills, sometimes practical skills that can be involved in the wider world. We don't have a specific project that we focus on at St Matthew's. The aim is to actually get people to go out and get involved in projects and do mission and do God's work where they are.
Fantastic. So helping them to explore perhaps what their passions are and use those to build God's kingdom.
Absolutely.
Amen. Gav, I'd love to hear from you. Tell us, you've been involved in church planting for a long time, haven't you? And seen God transform some of those corners of Walsall where you are. Can you tell us a little bit about how you think the church needs to grow in its thinking of mission and community?
Yeah, it's been a very exciting and tiring and rewarding and frustrating experience. I think we've tried to start from scratch or restart just the things that Malc and Jim have been talking about. So we came in 2012, 2013 with a team of people from Aldridge Parish Church to St Peter's, which was in line for closure, had been for quite some time. That was the future that was assumed for it. But we came with a team of people with the consent of a bishop, and I guess I was and still am the leader. just to see if we could restart things in what is actually a very tough parish in terms of deprivation levels. And God has blessed us. We've seen a church which was going to close re-establish itself. The living has been restored. If people speak Anglican fluently out there, you'll know what that means. We have the church is viable again. We're still not fully where we want it to be in terms of finance and what have you, but that's not unusual for an inner city parish. But the important thing is we've seen lives change. We've seen lives impacted. We've seen the good news get through to people who otherwise wouldn't have heard it. Our way of doing things, our mission statement, if you like, is straight out of the New Testament. It's the Great Commandment and the Great Commission. So love God, love other people, go into all the world, tell people the good news, teach them how to do everything I told you, says Jesus. Those add up to 5 things: worship, discipleship, evangelism, service, and fellowship. So those are the ingredients of the church we've tried to revitalize and get going again. And there's so much more to do, but we've made a good start. And part of what we're doing is just trying to tell other people, look, you can do this too. You need a team, you need a leader, and you need a bishop's consent to go out and plant a church. It might be going to a place that's struggling. It might be that people are in a place that's struggling and would welcome a team coming in and moving in and working with them. This is possible. It's happening around the country. Not so much in Lichfield. It is a bit. There's Matt Beer up in Telford who's just getting underway with some of this kind of thing. But elsewhere in the country, this is considered normal and the sort of thing you want to do to see the church grow. It really does grow the church. There's nothing quite like it. And there's one evangelism specialist said it's the best recipe under heaven for growing the kingdom, for evangelization. Planting churches, there's something about the energy of getting people involved and doing all the different things that Malk and Jim have both talked about, and just giving people that sense of purpose and mission. And it really isn't all about the clergy. One of my favorite quotes, which I keep coming out with, I think it was Bishop Sandy Miller, said, "The future of the Church of England is far too important to be left in the hands of the clergy." And I say amen to that, because, well, I'm me, so I know how frail it would be if it was left in my hands, certainly. But it usually gets a laugh and is true. Everybody needs to be involved in revitalizing the church. Everybody has a role to play, the loud ones, the quiet ones, as we've heard. So what's happened at St. Peter's, I would love to see happen elsewhere. I'd love to see resource churches in place to help make this happen in a sustainable way. And I'm hoping that can become, even at this point, part of the Shaping for Mission agenda, rather than just so gently settling into some sort of decline where closure is normal. Actually, how can we turn this into a chance to go for growth? That's what I think we'd like to see out of Shaping for Mission.
Yes, me too, definitely. I think I'm a firm believer that God brings beauty out of brokenness, and from the brokenness of this pandemic, he is still going to be glorified, and it's giving us the church an incredible opportunity to, in many ways, start again. And I think that God's calling us to be creative and not be, confined by the things that have confined us before. Thank you for sharing with us, fellas. I wonder if you could just have a think about if there was one thing you would like to pass on to your fellow clergy, particularly who might be watching, to say, go on, you can do this. What would it be? Jim?
Encourage others and give power away.
Malk?
Well, you probably guessed, but to get out and evangelize and tell people and share the good news, because I agree with what Gav's just said. That's how we see growth happen.
And Gav?
Well, yeah, start to think about what it means to get involved in church planting. There are resources out there. ccx.org.uk is the Centre for Church Multiplication. There's the Church Revitalization Trust, CRT, crtrust.org. Lots of places where there's explanation and examples of what's possible, but it needs us to explore what's possible and just actually think we can do this too. We really can. So yeah, just find out more about planting and go for it.
Thank you, folks. I hope that's been helpful. I could sit and talk about mission all day, to be honest, but we really must stop. Thank you for joining us. If you would like and share this this video to get it to as wide a group of people as possible, that would be really great. We'll be back at the same time next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye from me. Goodbye.